Sawadee Cup and welcome back in your life. Another episode for the Funkit Pod. MMA Monday. I'm smiling because this week in MMA gonna be nuts. The last 2 weeks, let's be honest, not that crazy. We had some nice chaos. I'm smiling because you probably know why I'm smiling. If you've seen some highlights from the past UFC fight night, you know which knockout I'm smiling about. But let's not go into all of that. There have been enough memes out there and so on, the gin fragility and so on. So let's not talk about that. I want to focus on the future because, quite frankly, I didn't watch all the fights at the fight night. I missed MMA, but it was also kind of nice not having to watch it because, let's be honest, but now, hey, a big weekend ahead. And as always, I'm not reviewing, previewing, and whatnot fights because there are so many out there. There's Uncle Chael out there. There's Ariel with all the interviews. So I'm looking more into the media side of things, like how are fighters using the media, how is the media using the fighters, and so on. And I'm hyped, as you can see, because I just watched the full embedded of the UFC 280 event. And before you would think, hey, but in the title it says one championship. Yeah, the one preview. And here I will preview because I simply assume not too many people are familiar with all the one fighters. One championship, second part of the show, of course. But first part, we have to talk about UFC 280, which is happening in Abu Dhabi. Let's not talk about politics here because, of course, Middle East not always the biggest, best records in terms of like worker rights and whatnot. But hey, we're not here to talk about politics, and yes, you could say like, yeah, same over here in Thailand where I am, or even in the EU or in the US. So let's not talk about this. Let's just talk about how the media pushes that fight. And of course, it's a huge cut. So I just opened it here. So excuse me if you watched the video, and I know not many people watched the video, but thank you, by the way. We had 5,000 downloads for the last episode, which was I gotta check like which buzzwords I said to sway the algorithm. So I will do this again. So awesome! Thanks for listening. Anyway, so let me look down here in case you're watching. So of course, main event. Let's go through it. Right? Of course, main event is the champion, and the champ has a name. It's Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev, and of course, or as Uncle Chael says, Makhachev. If Islam wins, will he learn his name? I'm not sure. Anyways, great fighter, obviously, but again, not reviewing the fights or previewing the fights. In terms of media, it always seems like the UFC at least is pushing the Makhachev narrative, right? He's the new Khabib, he takes over from Khabib and so on. And it seems like they weren't on that much on board with Charles Oliveira, right? That's why they stripped him for, I know it's the commission, for half a pound on a broken scale. So, right? And I think, but that's what makes it so great. And that's why I'm buying into the Oliveira hype train, of course. And I know Makhachev is a terrible matchup for anyone, of course. But storytelling wise, and if you've listened to the pod before, if you've watched the pod before, I'm all about storytelling. And the story of Charles Oliveira is just awesome. It's inspiring. It's one of the few that still inspires in combat sports. Yeah, he lost he won some, he lost some in his previous weight class, like I think a 50-50 fighter or so. Then he moves to another weight class, and then he just finds himself. And now he's on an 11-fight winning streak, takes out all the killers. He has a terrible weight cut apparently, gets stripped of the title one day before the fight. Everyone's like, oh my God, that's gonna mess with his head. He has to fight one of the most dangerous strikers on the roster. And what does the champ do? He goes in and reminds everybody that the champ has a name. And his name is Charles Oliveira. Because he takes out Justin Gaethje, and it was and yes, am I concerned? Okay, now it's fight talk, right? Am I concerned that he takes too many shots? Yes, I am. Am I concerned that Makhachev might be able to take him down and negate the jiu-jitsu? Yes, I am. Do I think that Charles Oliveira is the champ and will get it done? Yes, I am. But that's enough. Media-wise, I think the UFC really plays into Islam's corner with all the Khabib hype and so on, of course, which is understandable. I think they should also play more into Charles's corner, give him the ball a bit more. Charles does a great job by himself on his IG, on his media appearances, and so he does a good job telling his story. always using this catchphrase, the champ has a name and the name is Charles Oliveira, which is great. I thought it was a great idea to like come up with it like on the fly. It seemed it was fantastic. I liked that he does lots of like things in his favelas, in his community, helping, and it doesn't seem like he does it to show off, but there's always a camera there, which makes sense, of course, for the also storytelling wise, which is great. So he comes across very likable. He also comes across as very determined, though, which is great. I think the problem with Islam and Khabib before was just like that they don't come across as that likable, and especially right now with the UFC and Khabib and DC pushing, shoving Islam down our throats. It's just not. He's not that likable. If he wins, the people will love him though because he hated new Khabib and so on, smash and so on. But I think the constant DC praise or like overselling him, didn't do him any favors in the eyes of the fan, I believe. Again, the UFC seems to be fully on board with Islam Makhachev, and I think they also put him over, to use the term that you might know and familiar with if you listen to Chael Sonnen a lot or watch wrestling. So, fair enough, you have the favorite, so I hope Charles spoils it again, and I think, again, he does a good job. I think the UFC could do a better job. For the media outlets there, I think that Islam also is the darling, the favorite in many of the media eyes, simply because it's easier for them, because most of the media is, of course, English speaking, and that in their eyes, it's easier to talk with Khabib, it's easier and you get clicks, it's easier to talk with DC, you get clicks and views if you do that, than to talk with Charles or like his translator. So I think that's why they all are on the Islam train as well. So I think here, the Islam team could, either the Charles team, eventually, if he wins, hopefully, learns a bit more English. That would be great. Then again, of course, it's also pretty arrogant by the Americans. Like, yeah, we only listen to English-speaking people. Like, learn other languages, maybe, or like listen to the translator, turn on subtitles, whatever. But okay, fair. Maybe he should learn a little bit of English, like a little bit better. But I think they could also like then do more with subtitles and so on. If they post like video stuff and inspirational stuff and training footage and so on. So I think they could do a little bit more there as well. But again, his catchphrase has taken over. You see it in all the videos. It's always like a champ has a name. If he wins, I'm gonna get the shirt. The champ has a name, because then he really deserves like all the praise in the world. And according to UFC.com, Islam Makhachev is a favorite, is a betting favorite. Yeah. Anyways, so media-wise, I mean, everyone's covering the fight though, of course, because it's a huge fight card, obviously. So that's great. All eyes on there. So if they want, right, if the UFC and the media partners, if they wanna blow something up, they can do it, and they do it right now. It's fantastic, obviously. The embeddeds are great, the specials are great, Ariel Helwani, what all the shows, Submission Radio, fantastic content these days. So that's all great. So if they all want to, they can definitely all do it, right? It's just they don't always want to, because, of course, I mean, Fight Night doesn't sell clicks, or doesn't give you clicks and so on. Okay, but the champ has a name. All right. Then the co-main event, we have Aljamain Sterling with the TJ Dillashaw. Again, no predictions here. Aljamain, I think Aljamain usually comes across as a little bit unlikable, even though in long-form interviews I like him, because he's quite smart, actually, and he can analyze fights quite well, in my opinion. But in those short bits, he always, like, he comes across a little bit unlikable, because he's, like, insinuating that Dillashaw is still taking stuff and he's prepared to fight Dillashaw on roids or whatever. The only thing that speaks for Sterling right now from media point of view is that he fights Dillashaw, and people seem to hate TJ more than Aljo. So good luck here, good fortune for Aljo. Media-wise, again, Sterling is getting better and better and being like on all the shows, producing his own content, breaking fights down, which he does really well. So I think he's getting better there. It's just that people still making fun of him, don't like him that much. But I think he's getting there. I think he's turned a corner and like really became really good at creating content, which I like. And the UFC is also now behind him, pushing him more and more, of course, which is fair, at least for now. TJ Dillashaw doesn't do much media, I think, doesn't put that much out there. Maybe he doesn't need it anymore. Probably different focus, but still, I think he could do a bit more because he's still the snake for most fans out there or people that follow casually. So I think he could just put more on like his comeback journey. Also, the UFC could focus more on like his comeback and so on. In the embedded now, they had like some training footage from DJ, which is great, but it's like really fancy training, like not like grinding. It's like more like in a pool with like fancy stuff, which is cool. But I think they could have chosen different footage there, for example. The third bout is also bantamweight, of course. As you know, it's Petr Yan. Because I can't pronounce Piotr, because everybody should pronounce Piotr. Why is it Peter on the web? Petr Yan versus Sean O'Malley, which was a crazy matchup. They were number 1 contender versus number 12. Sean O'Malley, of course, is great with content. He's everywhere, twitching, streaming, whatever. You can't escape him. I'm a bit annoyed by him, but if he backs it up here, then it's all deserved. Petr Yan, same problem as Charles Oliveira, I think, just because he's not an English speaker. His tweets clearly aren't written by him. Clearly his manager, I guess, but clearly not him. Yeah, so he should just maybe learn a little bit more English because of the ignorant Americans. And sorry, and maybe then people would also like him more. Yeah, the UFC is clearly behind Sean O'Malley. So yeah, media-wise, of course, the same that applies that I just said with Charles and Islam before. He even more so because Sean O'Malley is American, he's English native speaker, and so on. So yeah. But that, yeah, we covered this. Then we had Benil Dariush versus Mateusz Gamrot. Same thing here. Even though Benil Dariush is a native speaker, he's American, he doesn't get that much coverage. So I'm wondering what happens there. I haven't seen much besides the latest UFC posts. Really interested to see where this goes from here, because then clearly the winner is clearly like lined up for one of the next title shots, of course. And then we have like the first bout on the main card is Caitlin Chukagian versus Manon Fiorot. No one talks about it, right? Again, like women's fight. Caitlin Chukagian is the number 1 contender in flyweight. Really? Okay. But yeah, so interesting. UFC should do a better job here building this up, or the media as well, I think. The one fight that's very interesting they're all good fights, but on the prelims is, of course, remember the name, what's his name? Belal Muhammad versus Sean Brady, which should be really interesting. Yeah, Belal tries very hard, and I think it works for him, apparently. I'm not a big fan of his content, but at least I appreciate that he's putting so much content out there, which is great. And he's everywhere, so you can't escape him. And in this case, I mean it positively, because like then he gets the show that he has to remember the show. He's on the UFC or ESPN breaking down stuff. Great. So I mean, it works for him. It's not, in real life he probably would not be vibing, which he doesn't care about. Obviously, he doesn't have to. Just saying. So it's not my cup of tea, like his style, but I appreciate the hustle, and I think he's doing a great job catching an audience and so on. So that's great. So props for that, and no hate. Just explaining, so props for that. Okay, we also have Caio Borralho on there against Mahmoud Muradov. Borralho, like very cerebral, and as last time out there, very handsome guy. Speaks English, even though he's from Brazil. And if he wins here, I think they're gonna. Depends how he wins here, but I think they're gonna keep pushing him. Like he has superstar written all over him if he can utilize that. I think. Yeah, so that's going to be really interesting. All right, so yeah, like I said, this event, of course, big pay-per-view, they're going to want to make lots of money, so that's an all eyes on there. They should treat other events not as big, but in a similar manner maybe. That would be helpful, I think. It would be cool. Okay, that's the UFC media thoughts so far. We will break it down afterwards, of course, what happened with the media, who used the media best, who had the best call-outs, and so on. All then after the event, a bit more detail there. Okay, so that's the UFC part. If you say that's all I want, then that's where you switch off right now. Before you switch off, like, share, subscribe, of course, keep your guards up, and so on. If you're a hardcore MMA fan or you're into one, since it's now moved to Prime, which I don't like for one reason, it's early in the morning here in Asia because it's American prime time, of course, prime time. And so it's very early here in Southeast Asia. But hey, great. I'm glad they get more exposure there. So Now talking one championship, previewing one championship. Here we go. One on Prime, video 3, headlined by John Lineker versus Fabricio Andrade. And yeah, let's just break it down. Like, break down the fights for you. So, I mean, you probably know John Lineker if you've been watching MMA or /UFC for a while. He's been in the UFC, then moved over to one championship after his contract expired, got let go, I'm not sure. And now he's the champion, Hands of Stone. He didn't win the championship that convincingly, in my opinion, and also his first fight wasn't as convincing as one championship makes you want to believe. So they're like, he's the super mega puncher and so on. I mean, he did win, so congratulations. It was just not as convincing as one championship makes it out to be. Like, he was in trouble in his fight, but he won, so congratulations. So then he fights Fabricio Andrade, who's like, a nickname is Superboy, Wonderboy, Superboy, something like this. Quite young, flashy, also from Brazil, as you can guess from the name. I'm intrigued. I don't think Fabricio Andrade has faced anyone as gutsy, maybe as John Lineker yet. But I'm also not sure if John Lineker has faced anyone as of late that's as flashy and that just doesn't care as like Fabricio Andrade. Fabricio Andrade is not scared. He's like, I'm going to go out, I'm going to do my thing, I'm going to show off, put on a show, and I'm going to beat your ass while doing it. So I'm not sure if Lineker still got it. And if he does, then congratulations and then tip of the hat and all those things. Let's see if he can fend off the new up-and-coming star. If Andrade pulls it off, I think one is going to flood your socials with videos of Fabricio Andrade. So that's going to be an interesting fight. Lineker not as exciting these days anymore, but still like very cerebral and of course very boxing heavy usually. But Fabricio Andrade brings the fire, so that's going to be interesting. I think I'm looking forward to it. So great fight. If you're not familiar with Fabricio Andrade, watch that fight. It's going to be fun. Co-main event, we have Recian Ersel, lightweight Muay Thai World Championship, the champion Recian Ersel fighting out of Suriname and based in the Netherlands. So very tall Dutch kickboxer, Muay Thai fighter, and he fights the new Thai Hope, and he got really propelled up there. Sinsamut Klimi came not out of nowhere. Like, he's been known for a while now. Also here in Thailand, he's from Thailand. But like in the one scene, I think he's got like 2 fights or so in one championship, and also he's in a championship match. He punches with power. He's a real power puncher, Sinsamut. Recian Ersel is elusive, lots of pressure, forward pressure, lots of kicks too, elbows. Like, Ersel doesn't stop usually. He just keeps going, which is great. And he's pretty tall. I'm really curious to see like the size difference between Ersel and Sinsamut. I remember when Ersel fought Nicky Holzkin for the title, like, Ersel was just so much taller than Holzkin, and Holzkin couldn't come close. So a really interesting fight. Now also Sinsamut like really showed off the last 2 times with 2 knockouts in his last 2 fights, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So there should be an interesting bout here. I haven't seen anyone getting Ersel in any kind of trouble, like in real trouble yet. Like in last fight, the first 2 rounds or so were even, but then round 3 he just switched it on and just shifted into another gear, and then he just took it from there. So I got Ersel, but I mean, I'm in Bangkok, right? So hey, I'm all for another Thai champion. So Chokdi Kun Sinsamut. But it's going to be really tough to dethrone Recian Ersel. I think you can't go via points probably. If Sinsamut takes it, probably knock out with a heavy punch round 2 or something. But I do think Recian Ersel will be able to avoid that and then just put it on Sinsamut in the later rounds. Another flyweight Muay Thai World Grand Prix final bout then between Superleg Gyatmugao and Panpayak Chitmanong. Panpayak out of like Chitmanong, you might have heard that name before. It's the gym that also Rotang trains out of. So we have Superleg versus Panpayak. You might not be familiar with those fighters, understandable. Here in Thailand, they're big names and they're going to put on a show. If I had to pick, it's hard. Like, it's really like, I mean, Superleg has been like one of the favorites for a while now, so I would say sure Super League probably the favorite here, but Panpiak is also really great, elusive. Great fight. Like, if you're into Muay Thai, that's a great fight to watch. We have featherweight Muay Thai between Kim Chae-wong and Shamil Gazanov from Russia. Interesting. I don't know much about Shamil to be honest. But the last time I said that, I said I don't know much about this one fighter. He was making his debut, so I don't know much. And then this fighter won, so I'm not gonna discount him or discredit him now. Maybe that's what he does. He's like the debuts over the last few weeks in one championship were all very successful for the new fighters. So great. The show stealer gonna be the first card on the main the first fight on the main card. Jeremy Miado versus Daniel Minity Williams. Daniel Williams is a savage. It's a strawweight bout, MMA in this case. I have to say it because Daniel Williams competes in Muay Thai as well. That's a strawweight bout, MMA, and Daniel Williams, he just doesn't stop. I say it all the time when he fights. Like he's awesome. Out of Australia/Thailand, trains a lot here, I believe. The first time I saw him was against Rotang, and Rotang was just putting it on him, and Daniel Williams would not stop moving forward. Rotang won, but Daniel Williams would not stop moving forward, coming at Rotang. Insane. And since then, he's just been on a roll. Jeremy Miado, also a knockout artist, so to speak, if you want to. That's also how one sells it. But man, Daniel Williams has been on a roll as of late in the last few fights. Mini T all day. Let's go, Daniel Williams. That's gonna be a great fight. First fight on the main card. Don't miss that. That's gonna be awesome. And no, I'm not affiliated with One Championship. Even though I wear a One t-shirt today, but it's because people always say I hate on One. So here's a One Championship t-shirt. It says Muay Thai. In the lead card we have, and don't call it like what prelims or something, they call it lead card. The main event on the lead card is Kate Ruotolo, who won the ADCC championships not too long ago, a few weeks ago, and now he's on the lead card. Why is Kate Ruotolo not on the main card One Championship? It's not like with UFC that the lead card is on a different platform. It's the same platform, or one on Prime. So why not put Kate Ruotolo higher up? Because I think Americans, at least combat sports fans, might know his name because he's the ADCC champion. Why have him down there? I don't understand. So that's a lightweight submission grappling world championship. So next, after his ADCC, he could also get the grappling world championship here at One Championship. So of course, gotta go with Kate Ruotolo here, of course. We have Amir Nasiri in flyweight Muay Thai taking on Taiki Naito. Naito hit or miss usually, but gonna be interesting. I just being a bit faster right now simply because we have also Mehdi Satur taking on Asa Tenpao, and I don't know much about Asa Tenpao from the United States. Mehdi Satur has been a mainstay in Muay Thai for a long time now. This makes him sound really old. He's not that old yet, but he's just been around for a long time here. Ever since I moved to Thailand, I think I've seen Mehdi Satur compete in Muay Thai. So he's good. He's smart. So if Asa Tenpao can overcome Mehdi Satur, then we know that Asa is for real. Atom weight, we have Leah Bivens versus Noelle Grandchamp. Last time around, Leah Bivens' opponent missed weight the day before, and then she got really mad, understandably. So now we're gonna see her. I think is it her debut now for One Championship, at least on the main event? I'm not sure. I haven't seen her before. I think so. Curious to see how Leah Bivens does here now. And then there are two in-stadium after main events fights. So they happen after the main event for the people in stadium, which is Keanu Supa versus Yoon Chang Min. And I don't know either. But the second fight I do know. I know Agilan Tani, who's also been a mainstay for One Championship for a long time. Also not always on the winning end as of late. Versus Ilya Stoyanov from Germany. Homie. Yeah. Was geht, Ilya? So, alles Gute, Ilya. I don't know Ilya Stoyanov, but I just saw that he's from Germany, which is great. Agilan Tani win some, lose some, lose some, lose some, win some, lose some, lose some. But definitely always there to put on a show. So that's also it's also a nice idea to have like those after main event matches to maybe like slowly ease out. You can still stay there a little bit, watch a few more bouts. Good idea, I think. All right, so that's the preview for One Championship, One on Prime Video 3. Let me know your picks, what you think about the event, and of course we also break it down once the event is over to see that I was right with all my picks, obviously, and then also look at how did the fights go, who used the media wisely. In One Championship, they don't really do call-outs that much, but let's see, maybe something happens, and then we'll have a detailed breakdown afterwards. All right, so that's it for this week for the MMA Monday. That's Back in Your Life. The original, of course, as you know. As always, thanks for being with me. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, rate this podcast on all the platforms, because then we can get a bigger audience, which would be awesome. More discussions. Until then, stay safe, take care. Keep your guard up. Sawadee Krap.